experimenting with some sound effects here. By default they loop, so if I play something like this, I wonder how that sounds. Forgive me, I'm just messing around here. Do you get the full sound? Because I only get the tail end of that. That's a little better. This one's my absolute favorite though, right here. Prepare yourself.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I didn't do anything. Ow! 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 Ow!
I love that clip just because of the tantrum that the kid throws. Like, he's clearly exaggerating that the pain of being tased. Like, it's almost like I liken it to like a porn star faking an orgasm. Like, he's overcompensating so hard. It's like obviously fake. Let's listen one more time. Just so you can hear. Hold on a second.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I didn't do anything. Ow! Ow!
See, at first,
Ow!
now he's just going over it. See, now he's just selling it. Now he's just selling it like he knows people see it and are horrified by it. So now that second part, he's just totally going after it. And then I have like other great clips like this one. Anyway, how you doing? We got Sing Quirin coming on today. He should be here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. I like to go live a little bit early, and what I was thinking about doing is playing. I came across this clip earlier of it was about the beef between Axl Rose and Vince Neil. It's so good. I was watching this like recap of the like beef that Axl and Vince Neil had in the late 80s. But anyway, Sin is here. Let's bring him on and let's get this party started. Sin, how are you, sir?
Oh, yo. Good, man. How are you?
Really good, thank you, man. We appreciate you taking the time today to chat with us.
No, pleasure's all mine. I'm unfortunately going through some serious acid reflux right now.
Oh,
So
man.
I've got a Tums in my mouth. I'm not
You're
chewing
good.
gum, but hopefully this will pass quickly.
You got to eat like some
Too many
some
tacos, man.
pickles or some kimchi or something
What's
like
that?
that. Like I've heard that like pickles or
Yeah,
kimchi are good for that.
Oh, really? I'll have to try that. Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? There's a couple different foods. It's like counterintuitive, but because of the pH level, I guess, it's a base, like a strong base. Like pickles are like have some kind of probiotic, like any kind of like fermented fruit, like that I've heard is good for.
It's my own fault too, man. I should have known better, but glutton.
I
I'm a
mean,
glutton for,
depending on the quality of the tacos, I will sacrifice. I would sacrifice my stomach for good tacos.
and that's what I did. And
Yeah,
I mean, they weren't good, but
they weren't good.
It's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. Sometimes it results in this, and sometimes it doesn't. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I moved a couple of years ago. I moved out here to the Calabasas Agora Hills area, and the one thing that is sorely lacking out here. I mean, it's obviously very much more suburban than like the valley or like the city, but there's no good Mexican food out here. Like I have to go into that. Yeah.
Is that where you're at? You're in the Calabasas area?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Not too far away.
Awesome. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, I would imagine there's not a whole lot of authentic Mexican in that particular area, but
there's a couple things, but I'll go down to Malibu on PCH. There's a great place for breakfast burritos, Country Kitchen
nice.
down
Awesome.
there. They serve breakfast burritos all day, and it's all run by Hispanic guys.
Oh, nice.
Know what they're doing.
Awesome.
But
you'll have to tell me the spot, man. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I'm all about that kind of stuff. Have you ever been to Salsa and Beer in the Valley?
I have. There's North Hollywood. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's one in North Hollywood.
Close to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's another place I love. But the trucks, if you
Totally.
know the good trucks too, it's
Oh,
like,
dude, well, that's the thing, man. The street tacos and
yeah,
the the trucks. I mean, that's a spot. It's all over North Hollywood, and
right.
this past weekend I was over in the East LA area. So,
Okay.
that's as authentic as you're gonna get, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I would refer to as real LA. Like,
exactly. Totally.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because like the West Side is just all a bunch of transplants from Middle America and like Hollywood
exactly.
people and stuff. So
Yep.
like that's like legitimate real LA.
Yeah. I was born in East LA. That's
Oh,
where I was born.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I'm legit from East LA, and lived there for probably till I was about 5. I mean, I've always been in LA, but right in that East LA area till I was about 5 years old or so. Yeah.
You're a rare LA native.
Yeah, definitely. Very rare. I actually, this past weekend, while I was having tacos, street tacos, a couple of other customers there, we just got to talking, and they were actually both born and raised in LA as well. And we were commenting on how rare that is.
Yeah, it is pretty
Yeah.
rare. Well, maybe not as much in that part of town. It's a little
Yeah,
more
true.
common, I think, in the legit part of town where it's like people
True.
of generations of families live there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But this side of town, it's a little more the bougie people who kind of move here and have acting careers and stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're all
Totally.
right. I tolerate you, but
A nice area though. Very nice area up there.
yeah. Oh, I love LA for that reason. It's such a diverse city. There's so like I drive Lyft sometimes, and like one minute I'm in like Bell Canyon, and then the next minute I'm
Yeah.
in Alhambra,
Yeah.
or
Totally.
Silver Lake, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like it's such a beautiful city in that respect. There's so many nooks and
Definitely.
crannies, and like it's such a melting pot, really. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's everything. I mean, and everything, if you want to go to, the ocean, if you want to go to the snow, I mean, everything is relatively close. It's not like you have to drive hours and hours to get to see all these things. So that's the one cool thing about LA.
we got it all for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to someone because someone's like, I was sitting in traffic the other day talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, people keep saying that like there's like this mass exodus out of California, but I don't see it. Like there's traffic
Yeah,
everywhere.
you
There's people everywhere.
could not tell by the traffic that
Yeah.
that I'm in every day.
Well, let's talk about your career, man, because you have an interesting career and you've been in a lot of bands. I dig. Starting with like Society One, going all the way back to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Even American Head Charge. I didn't know you were in American Head Charge for a minute too.
Yeah, man. I've been, what can I say? I've been very blessed, very lucky. Um, the first real band, that I got a record deal with, obviously, was with Society One,
Mm-hmm.
and that was I joined them in 1999, and I think we got signed to Earache Records somewhere like around 2000 or 2001 or something like that.
So
And
before you
go
go
ahead.
too far with that, what's the story with them? Because wasn't the main guy was like a porno guy or like a pornographer guy,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well, his dad was a big guy in the business, in the adult business, and really well-known guy. And so the singer Matt, he started directing films as well
okay,
once he got
that's
out here, because they're originally from back east. And so when I joined them, actually the first time I saw them, I was playing in an old band of mine called Electric Head, and we were opening for Society One at the Coconut Teaser.
I
And
remember that place.
yeah, over on
It's a
Crescent
memory
Heights and
now.
Sunset. And
A lot of great
and
bands came
so
over there.
yeah, it was always a great lineups there on the weekends. But anyways, we were on before them, and I stuck around, and I was packing up while they were on stage, and they had like all these, adult entertainment, actresses up on stage dancing, go-go dancing for them and stuff like that. And I was like, Jesus, man, these guys are pulling all the stops. And I mean, it was packed for them. And I dug what I heard. I really liked their music. And that night, I ended up meeting a couple of the guys, and they had mentioned to me that they were going to be looking for a keyboardist that could double on guitar. And I was like, oh, I do that. And I was kind of bullshitting. I mean, because I did play some keyboards, but not, I've never called myself a keyboard. But sure enough, a couple weeks later, they auditioned. I went and I auditioned. I don't know how I got the gig, because I got it just playing keyboards. And about a month or so after that, we're on the road and we're headed to Wichita, Kansas to do an Ozfest. And that's how that started for me. And I started on keyboards for them, but then shortly after that, the band just sort of disbanded, if you will, and we sort of reformed. The singer and I moved over to guitar, and we just got some other new members, and then that's when we got our record deal with Earache, and then that was it, man. We were off and running.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I worked for when I first moved to LA in like 99, and I worked for a adult website because I was a digital guy.
Yeah.
So that's how I found out about Society One.
Yeah.
Because one of the
we were all over that stuff, man. It was crazy. I remember, especially back then, we're talking about 99 or so, going to rehearse in these, like, in this warehouse. It was just filled with all these, like, porn
DVDs,
tapes and DVDs and all that shit. And I was just
was
like,
it in Chatsworth?
Yeah, it was of course, it was out in the valley, man.
Yes.
Porn capital of the world, man.
It's funny.
It was a trip. We would literally be rehearsing in this warehouse that was just filled with all this stuff.
That's a good place to rehearse, though. Yeah. As good as any, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably. It's funny when at that time too. I remember reading and this was like 99, 2000. I remember reading something in the LA Times about, because the porn industry is so strong in the Valley, and they had this number, and it was like a 5-digit number for how many pornos are made in the Valley every year. And so me and this dude that we're working like graveyard, we're like, we sat down and like did the math. We're like, that's literally 2 pornos every half hour are made in the Valley. Like if you break it down.
Yeah, it's about right, man.
Yeah. And it's changed a lot, but
yeah,
that was
definitely.
like peak.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Peak time. Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a, I mean, I'm sure it still is a big industry, but back then during those times, it was such a powerful and big industry.
Yeah.
It was thriving. It was doing so well.
The internet, that was right before the internet the internet changed a lot.
Yeah.
In everyone's world. I think the porn industry was probably the first industry to really feel the effects of it. And now we see it happen to music next, and now it's happening to like mainstream Hollywood, I feel like, with all the writer's strikes and stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, when I first started hearing about the whole writer's strike thing and all that stuff, and I was like, wow, that sounds very familiar. It sounds like, like all the stuff that happened to the music business, and, well, we'll see what happens, if anything changes or not with it.
Paradigm shift.
We're still waiting for it. We're still waiting for a change. We're still like not really getting paid. I mean, it's ridiculous to see some of the numbers, man, of what you actually make as an artist, like when something gets streamed, or, the breakdown of all the streaming platforms, what you end up actually making. And it's pretty much non-existent,
Yeah, it's that whole thing is crazy. Like the change to streaming and everything has like it's like a double-edged sword, because it makes it easier for artists to get access.
Yes.
But then also the residuals are much lower.
Nothing. Yeah, it's literally nothing, man. I think it was I don't know if I saw something about Peter Frampton had posted that one of his like huge hits, and how many like millions of streams or something it was on Spotify, I believe. And I think he broke it down to like making like $1,000 or something like that off of like millions of streams on Spotify. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
That is crazy.
Yeah. For an artist that big with those kind of numbers to be making that kind of money is just crazy.
I've seen stories with like the guy from Roxy Music too. He said that like he makes more money off Jay-Z and Kanye use like a sample of one of his tracks.
Oh yeah.
On like Watch the Throne, and he's like, I get a check for like $500,000 every year because of that.
I believe it.
Because of sample clearance for
yeah. You make, I mean, I think that, because of those changes, I think that's why a lot of artists and a lot of bands and musicians just kind of started looking at, doing these like VIP things, or doing this, whatever. Like I think it's just to try to supplement, the income, because it's just not made in selling unless you're a mainstream artist and you're pulling ridiculous amounts of numbers and streams. I just don't see how, you're just not able to survive, just on that alone, to where in the past you could,
Mhm.
20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50, I mean, you could have a career just on that, just on your residuals and your sales and stuff like that. But now it's non-existent. I actually, I mean, to be honest with you, I make, I can make more, and I'm not saying that I make any amount, that's worth bragging.
Oh, ah, we lost you. You froze up on me.
A residual or a physical product off of, say,
There we go.
Bandcamp than I do off streaming or anything else. Like way more,
Wow.
way
Well,
more.
I mean, I know, like talking to a lot of musicians as we do, it's like I realize the hustle behind touring. Like a guy like Josh Todd, for
Yeah,
example, from Buck Cherry,
sure.
that guy's a hustler. Like I mean,
Yeah,
they're putting out albums just so they can do a touring cycle, and
yeah,
obviously they have some hits that he's kind of
yeah.
like living off the fumes of,
Of
like
course.
running off the
Yeah,
fumes of. But like I respect the fuck out of that, because he's like, hey, I got people to feed, I got a crew, I got to get out and play shows.
it's a constant hustle, man, and it's like you have to keep that cycle going in order to keep any sort of steady money coming in, because you've got to make touring, merch. I mean, that's really where there's more money. There's way more money in that than sales, album sales. Like that's
Yeah,
pretty much just gone. Unless you're Metallica or something like that.
right.
But all
Or
these
Taylor
other
Swift.
bands, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. It's like all these like mid-level. It's just not happening, man. It's just not. That's just the reality. So you've got to either tour a bunch, and then with touring, you're also faced with, okay, well, merch when I tour, but then you're looking at the merch cuts that venues take from you as well. So that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just, man, it's making it so tough to make a living doing this. It's
Yeah.
just very difficult to make a living doing it.
Someone mentioned that before, the merch costs, and that's ridiculous. Like I could see them paying, like you have to pay like a fee to like sell within their venue, but like they take a percentage of every item you sell.
Yeah,
That's stupid. That's terrible. I mean, at that
it's
point you can
crazy.
just go, here's a flyer, go buy our shit on our website.
Right,
Like
exactly. Which is what a lot of people are trying to do. A lot of bands are trying to do. They're just like, here, just buy it from here,
support the
rather
band
than yeah,
directly.
rather than have the merch cut and go to the venue. It's crazy. A lot of bands, man, you see them out on tour, and people assume or think that they're doing well or making money, but I know for a fact a lot of them are literally going, they're making it from town to town just
Yeah.
based on what they made that night, and hopefully what they were able to clear from any merch, you know, or gasoline, whatever vehicle they're traveling in, whether they're in a van or like a Sprinter or a tour bus. Forget about it. Like the fuel costs alone on that kind of stuff is just through the roof. So
Gas
a
is
lot of
so
those bands
expensive.
are just, yeah, they're just relying on that night's sort of take to get them to the next town. It's
You hear
crazy.
that, people? Buy merch direct.
Yeah, definitely. Buy
Buy hard
merch.
copies
That's the
of
best
albums.
way. I mean, that's honestly the
Support
best way
bands.
to help. Yeah, that's the best way to help bands right now, is really to just directly buy their merch, whatever it is that they're selling, t-shirts, physical, copies of CDs or whatever. That's the best way.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. Yesterday I talked to Nikki Stringfield, and she's putting out her own record, and
Yeah,
it was
right on.
interesting because it's like there's this dynamic where the label doesn't want to look at you until you have an audience, but once you have an audience, you don't need a label.
Right. Exactly. It's
You've
true.
kind of
It's
got the power.
and it is a double-edged sword where what we're in right now, because of the internet. I mean, you're able to do stuff on your own, to whereas before you didn't have that reach. You had to rely on a label, and now you really don't. I mean, it takes a lot of work and a lot of hustle, to get out there, to make yourself known. But that is the beauty of that side of it, is that you can literally be in, some small town somewhere and have fans all over the world. And
Yeah.
that couldn't happen before the internet. So there's, obviously there's pros and cons to it. It's like you either have to try to adapt, with the technology and the times, or you're just gonna left behind and gonna turn into a dinosaur, man. And believe me, I've gone kicking and screaming, because I'm like old school with everything. I am technology challenged. I suck at all this stuff, but it's like I do my best, and just to try and get the word out there, and make your presence known.
Do you what kind of rig do you play through and stuff? Do you use like a typical like tube amp, or do you have like one of those new kind of emulator type?
I have everything, man.
Okay.
If it were up to me, I would my old Marshall 1983 Marshall JCM 800 is like my absolute go-to head. But when you're touring, and especially if you're traveling, overseas, it's impossible to carry this stuff around. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I still have Marshalls, I have Mesa Boogies, I have all kinds of stuff. But the last few years, we switched over to Kempers,
Yeah.
and basically just put all my tones in there. And as far as traveling, they've been great. They've been amazing. They sound great. That's what I've been using for the past 4 or 5 years now. The last ministry tour I did in 2019, when we did the Slayer, that's all we used were our Kempers, and they sounded amazing. And that's what I'm currently using right now.
Yeah, that's what I had never even heard of that until I asked Nikki what she plays through. And
Yeah.
then I went, wow, I'm so behind. I still have like a Carvin head, like a tube head I just
Yeah.
haven't upgraded gear or anything, but it's so that's
Dude,
just it
I love the tube sound, man. I mean, that's what I grew up, playing and listening to. And again, in a perfect world, I would still be lugging around my, 2 Marshall JCM 800s and four cabinets if I could, but it's just not feasible now.
It doesn't make sense.
It's too costly. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm old, and I don't want to carry heavy shit around anymore. So my back is.
Hey, I can relate to that.
What it was.
Yeah, your back.
We're trying to get.
Oh man, you're locking up on me. Is there anything I can do? Oh, you froze on me, man. Let's see.
There you are.
There you go.
Right,
yeah, your connection seems a little bit spotty. Like you've come in and out a couple times.
Sorry, man.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm close to my router too.
We just switched to this software StreamYard, and it's worlds better than Zoom, because I can broadcast to our Facebook, and it gives us a bigger audience. Basically, we broadcast to Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. So
nice, right on, very cool.
Yeah,
right on.
But anyway, yeah, you were talking about your gear and just the ability to travel.
Yeah, so I mean, those Kempers. Yeah, if you haven't checked out those Kempers, you should check them out, man. They're really, really cool. If you're doing gigs, if you're doing a lot of shows and you're traveling, awesome. I mean, they're literally like the size of like a lunchbox, man.
It's just like an emulator. How do you load your tones into those?
So you basically you mic up your cabinet, your head, your cab, whatever, and you literally plug right into it, and it basically records it. And and it does this. It goes through this whole weird sort of programming thing, and then it just grabs it, and that's it. And then once you have it in there, you could take like a thumb drive, you can pull it out, and you can transfer it onto another one, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, CJ from Drowning Pool was talking about the tuning app he had. Or was it CJ? No, it was actually the guy from Messer. But he's talking about how he's like, yeah, we use a lot of different tunings, so I just have an app that retunes my guitar digitally. I'm just like, where have I been? I'm living in the Stone Ages over here. I'm like,
Yeah, if you're still using with the carbon tube.
yeah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, but I love all that stuff, man. I still have all my old amps.
yeah, the vintage stuff is good, but I understand if you're a touring musician, like
Correct.
it's just
It
so
just
much
doesn't make
easier
sense.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do it that way?
It does, and a lot of bands, man, that if you notice a lot of bands that do a lot of fly dates, like that are literally, in Ohio this weekend and then on a Friday and then in, Detroit on Saturday, whatever, they're flying to these dates and they're literally just these little like Kempers or whatever amp that they happen to be using. And the event that they're playing at is supplying the back line for them. So their cabinet's already there. They're literally just showing up with guitars and like their little amp heads and stuff. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't have been able to do that 20 years
No.
ago
Uh-uh.
because you'd have to carry all your gear.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they
that's
sound
amazing.
massive, man. We've been rehearsing with SIGLOS with my project, and Jesus Christ, man, the tones just sound so fucking good, man. It sounds massive and clean and clear. It just, I couldn't be happier with those Kempers. I really, they're a lifesaver for us, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit more about SIGLOS. This started how long ago? A couple years ago, right? I saw you guys put something out in 2022.
Yeah. So the whole thing started literally during the pandemic. I just started writing a bunch of stuff, and I had a handful of songs. I was gonna do, for lack of a better term, sort of a solo project, solo album, whatever. But I was gonna have different singers on it and stuff like that. But I had this one song written, and I kept kind of like a black metal vocal to it, and which was new to me. I mean, it was not something I was really necessarily.
Are you doing
into.
the vocals on it?
No, and I did all the
do
music and stuff. And so I showed the song idea to my producer, and he recommended this guy named Alex, or he recommended this guy. Alex is my producer. This guy named Pedro, and we brought this guy Pedro in, and he killed it. It was exactly what I was hearing in my head, and I liked it so much that I said, "Hey man, do you want to do another one?" And so we did another song, and again, I loved what he did. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm really digging the sound here and where this is going. Let me turn this into a project, which was new to me. I had never really given black metal, if you will, a chance. And so that's what we did. And so that's how this whole thing started. And we just kept writing and writing and writing till we had enough songs to do an EP. Got 5 songs together, put those out there on Bandcamp. And we did a run of 100 physical CDs, which sold out in like a week. And we did 2 music videos. And that's how this whole thing really started, man. But it really came to be because of the pandemic and
Wow.
just writing. And it really piqued my interest, this style. It's heavier than, even all the ministry stuff I've ever done. But at the same time, if you listen to the music, I mean, it's still very similar and it's not too out there. It has of black metal, of doom. It even has some, industrial in there. But I added a lot of like orchestration to it. There's a lot of synths. So it's just a mixture of a bunch of different things, and it's in Spanish. So
I was going to ask you if it's all Spanish language.
It's all Spanish, yeah, man. So before we did the first song and Pedro came in, one of the first things he asked me, which I hadn't even thought of, is he said, "Do you want me to sing in English or Spanish?" And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Spanish." Like it just came out automatically. I was like, "Shit, yeah, let's do it in Spanish." Let's, think about it, and everything's in Spanish right now. We might do something in English in the future, but for now, all the vocals are in Spanish.
That's awesome. As someone who's trying to learn Spanish as a gringo, that excites me because I actually I have like Duolingo and whatever, but like I think it's better to listen to music in Spanish
Yeah.
because I don't get a lot of chances to talk to people in Spanish.
Sure.
So that's probably the best way to like really learn the language is learn. So I listen to a lot of Spanish language artists. Oh, you locked up on me again. I wish there was a way I could. I wonder if it's. We'll just wait for a second because you always pop back on.
About that, brother.
You back? There you go. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm here.
There
Sorry
you go.
about that, man. I'm like literally like 5 feet from my router.
It's okay. Like they tell you with this to use a laptop or it's going to be spotty sometimes.
Yeah, my laptop is in my studio right now, so
it's fine. Yeah, don't even worry about it. When I cut the final interview out of it, I'll clip all that out anyway.
cool.
But it's
Awesome.
The live stream is always good for that reason. It's like people that want to watch it raw can watch it raw,
For
and
sure.
then we'll do like
Totally.
a cut together interview that takes out
Right
all
on.
the BS.
Awesome. Right on.
So what are some of your influences, man? Like what got you into music? What drove you to start playing guitar?
Well, my dad was a singer in Mexico back in the 60s, so I think I always had it in me. Music was always played at home, but literally the first time I heard Kiss when I was 6 years old is when I said, this is what I want to do. And it was Kiss Alive. So it was 1970, late 75 when I heard Kiss Alive. And I was 6 years old. And I remember telling my older cousin who brought the album over, this is what I want to do. And it was literally blinders for me from that point on. And I started playing the guitar when I was about 10. But my early influences were Kiss, Hendrix, and a lot of the stuff that my parents listened to. So a lot of like the Stones, the Animals, the Kinks, even the Beatles, a lot of the British bands and stuff were my early influences. But as I got a little bit older, I mean, I was just obsessed with Kiss as a kid, and Hendrix. Those were like probably my two biggest influences when I was first starting out.
I just watched this or listened to this Trent Reznor interview with Rick Rubin, and even he was like, I swear every musician mentions Kiss. Like he was even like Kiss was like the band that like made me go, I want to do that. Like that's
totally
cool.
It's exactly what I mean. For me, man, it was it couldn't have been at a more perfect time. I mean, a 6-year-old little kid seeing the Kiss Alive double album. I mean, looking at these guys that look like superheroes, they didn't look like any other band I had seen. And there's fire, there's blood, there's everything. It's just like, holy shit, what is this? And then listening to that music, and I mean, I remember the needle dropping on that first song, and when Deuce, the first song on that album, came on, I was just like, holy shit, my world just completely turned upside down, because it was heavier than anything I had heard up until that time. And I was just completely immersed in looking at these photos and images and stuff. And at 6 years old in 75, I mean, there was nothing cooler or more outlandish or more perfect. It just hit me right over the head, man.
Another like cool thing to me about the theatrical part, or the masks and the makeup thing that I didn't really think of until recently because I'm older, is that you don't age if you're wearing makeup or a mask, or you can like swap out members too. Like Slipknot, for example, will never age because they're known as those masks.
And that's something that even the Kiss guys have talked about. They're like, look, this band can go on forever. Even after we're gone, I mean, this thing can still continue. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty. You don't really think about that when you're younger. Once you get older, you're like, holy shit, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're like truly immortal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's super cool. So I guess talk about some of the other stuff you like, or like experience, like the last couple years. I know. Have you played with any other bands? Have you been doing any other things post ministry besides SIGLOS? Or
no? Well, not heavy. No, this is the only like heavy band I've done. I mean, I do like a lot of studio work and a lot of session work and stuff like that. And I've gotten together with friends and I've done, small little things with them and things like that. But I've never a push like this, or never like a band on this kind of bill. With all these other bands that we're doing, like this, this LA's Gates of Metal Festival that we're doing.
In October,
So,
right?
I mean, I've really, yeah, October 14th and 15th is that festival that we're playing. We're playing October 15th. Both days, it's a great lineup. Our day, we're playing with Sadistic Intent, Evil Dead, Heathen, just great bands,
And
bands
this
that
is
I've
your
been,
first time playing live as Siglos?
yeah. This is like our big debut. So we've been like knee deep in rehearsals, man. And it's a trip, man. I got like the first day of rehearsal, first night of rehearsal, I even got like, I was feeling a little emotional, man, because it was just like so many things. It's been 4 years since the last time I was on this type of stage with this type of band. So I remember sitting in rehearsal and, after we went through the first song, it was the first time we'd played together. And man, I was like even getting choked up just because it was so many emotions and feelings that were just swirling. And it was pretty amazing. And the band sounding amazing. I couldn't be happier. Great guys, great musicians. So we're all really excited about this gig. And we're hoping that, people are able to come out and make it and dig what we're doing. We're trying to, bring a little of the theatrics back. We've got, we ordered some stage stuff happening, some props and things, and we're trying to really bring the experience of the music, out to life. So we're hoping people are able to come out and dig it.
You've always been kind of a hired gun. So is this like your first time really helming everything and being like the leader of the band, really?
Well, when I was in my bands before Ministry, like it wasn't when I was in Society One, I can't really, I wasn't necessarily a hired gun because I came into the band, like I
Right.
said earlier, as the keyboardist, and then I just switched to guitar. And then it was Matt and I, my hat goes off to Matt. He spearheaded that whole thing, but it was like, we were sort of a partnership there,
You were
with that
writing.
band. Yeah. And then it wasn't until I got into, so from that band I went into the Revolting Cocks. Was the first band that
Mhm.
that I went into, and I was still in Society One, but I just got asked to play guitar for the Revolting Cocks in 2006, and we were opening for Ministry, and so I just did that gig. It was like a month and a half, but then after that, I didn't continue with Society One, and then I got the call by Al from Ministry if I wanted to go to El Paso, Texas, to start working on a new Ministry album. And so I think that's kind of when I sort of started this hired gun
I
thing.
got you.
And of course I went out there and I ended up co-writing half of that album, which turned into an album called The Last Sucker,
No,
which
yeah, I've heard it.
was just, we just had the anniversary, the like 16th anniversary, I think was yesterday or day before yesterday of that album
Yeah.
coming out. So that was it, man. And then from that point on, I ended up joining Ministry, and this was 2006, really, when I joined them. And then I was with them all up until 2000. I think I left 2 years ago, I think. But during that time, like in 2009, I went out with the Revolting Cocks again. And then in 2010, I went out with Lords of Acid. And
Yeah.
then 2011 and 12, I went out with American Head Charge, and then back in Ministry. And then I think that's it up until I left a few years ago.
Lords of Acid is the first time I heard of you, I think. And that's so crazy. Like Al Jorgensen alone is a legend. It's like are you still in good terms with Al? Like, do you guys still talk?
Yeah, we haven't talked in a bit, but yeah, everything ended on good terms, and I will be eternally grateful to him and for the whole organization, for having me, and for giving me that opportunity. But yeah, man, it's been, because of Ministry, I was lucky enough to do all these amazing things, man. And
Yeah.
so I'm always going to be grateful for that opportunity. You know, I did some stuff. I did a track with Sasha from KMFDM. Just amazing things that I never would have thought I would have, you know, been lucky enough to do. You know, the 2 Grammy nominations I got were, you know, while I was in ministry. So just amazing things, man. You know.
Yeah, that's so like you've had a storied career, man. Like you played with a lot of like
Yeah.
legendary artists.
Yeah, and I was, you know, I was always a Lords of Acid fan because I've always been into like dance, electronic music. Ever going back to the '70s, man. I'm a huge, and not ashamed to say, huge disco fan.
Hmm.
Love '70s R&B, funk, disco, all that stuff.
Me too.
And so I was always into the whole electronic thing. You know, when that started coming out and happening, and I was a huge Lords of Acid fan. And I remember seeing Lords back in the '90s, early '90s, I think. I remember being front row at the barricade at the Hollywood Palladium watching My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult and Lords of Acid. And then fast forward to 2010, I'm the guitar player in Lords of Acid with the Thrill Kill Cult opening up for us. So it's just
Amazing.
shit that, man, I couldn't, you know, I couldn't have made up, you know. So just very lucky, man, with all the things I've been lucky enough to do. And then same thing with American Head Charge. I was always a huge American Head Charge fan. So to be, you know, to have had the opportunity to have played with, you know, Chad, rest in peace, all those guys, they were all amazing people to me. We had a great, I think we did 2 or 3 tours. I think I was with them for like 2 years, I think a year or 2 years, and
Hmm.
just a great experience with those guys.
That's awesome. Well, now you have this new
Yeah,
chapter. So after this debut show, do you guys have anything big
I'm
planned?
gonna sleep.
You gonna sleep? Yeah,
I'm
a lot of
gonna sleep.
preparation.
Holy shit, man. Like, man, it is unbelievable the preparation going into this one gig. But it's because it's our first show, and you know, there's a lot of things that we don't have and didn't have, and now we do have. But it's just a ton of preparation and rehearsals, and you know, a lot of behind the scenes stuff going into it. But you know, we signed on with a really amazing booking agency, Continental Touring USA, that handles a lot of big bands, a lot of bands that I look up to. You know, we've got there's Satyricon, Deicide, Rotting Christ, all those bands are on this roster. So I'm very
Awesome.
blessed and lucky to be, you know, alongside these bands. So this gig, I think, will be it for this year. And then we're going to focus on 2024, unless something else pops up in November and December. But nothing's in the books as of yet. So that's why we're really focusing a lot on this October 15th show.
It's crazy. The year's almost over. It's already
I know.
September. It's gonna be
Unbelievable.
yeah, it's gonna be
Flew
October in a
by,
couple
man.
weeks.
Flew by. I mean, it's just, you know, it is for, I hate to sound like that old dude, but now it's like the years just fly by, man.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone a couple weeks ago about how when you're younger, a year seems like a long time.
Oh, man.
And they pointed out
Now,
how they're like, yeah, well, that's because when you're 10, a year is a tenth of your life. But when you're 40, a year is a
exactly.
40th of your life. So it is a smaller.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It just flies by, man. Now it's like you think of, oh, this thing's going to happen next year. And you're like, okay, cool. That should give me enough time to prepare for it. You know, because
Yeah,
it just flies by. So, yeah.
that's awesome. Well, I guess I don't have a ton else to ask you. Like, do you have anything else that you're pushing? Are you guys
I mean, mainly, you know, this gig, man, the new band called Siglos, spelled SIGLOS. Our debut show is October 15th. It's a Sunday, October 15th at the Garden Amphitheater in Garden Grove, California. It's a 2-day festival that's happening. It's called the LA's Gates of Metal Festival. I highly encourage any metal fan to come out. There's something for everyone. It's not just one style of metal. They really cover all the, you know, all the styles here, if you will, and great bands both days. We're playing Sunday the 15th. We have an early slot, I believe, as well. There's 2 stages. There's like an outdoor sort of amphitheater stage, and that's the one that we're going to be on. And then there's an indoor stage, and we go on at 3 p.m. on Sunday, October 15th. So, you know, if you're in the area, if you're in the Los Angeles area and you want to listen to some awesome metal on either of those days, please come out. We would appreciate the support. You know, we hope to see everyone out there. We'll all be hanging around there and saying hi to everyone. So hopefully people can come out.
Yeah, man. I hope to get down there myself.
Yeah, man. Let me know. Let me know if you want to go.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you, man, for appreciate your time, and please come through and talk to me again when you guys are putting out new material or you got a tour to promote or any of that stuff.
Definitely will, man. And thank you. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate everyone's support. A lot of people, you know, I've had some friends that have, some fans that have turned into friends throughout the years, and I can't thank you all enough for, you know, riding this journey with me and continuing to support me. It really, truly means a lot. I am always flattered and humbled by the support that I get from people. So, you know, a million thanks to all of you. Really means a lot.
We had a couple people in the chat saying hi to Jen and Nicole. So shout out to them for
Right
coming.
on. Awesome.
Did
Very
you
cool.
want to
Shout out
shout
to Jen and Nicole. Right on.
Yeah. Do you guys have like socials or anything that people should follow? Like, are you on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, the band
YouTube?
has it, just SIGLOS. Yeah, SIGLOS, SIGLOS. You'll find the band, and also our Bandcamp page, which is
Okay.
siglos.bandcamp.com.
By
That way, I
direct.
mean, you know, if you really want to support the music, yeah, we've got our 5 songs available on there. You can listen to them for free if you want. If you want to, like, you know, contribute some money, awesome. It would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, the SIGLOS Bandcamp is a big thing for us.
Awesome. And get out and see the band on the 15th, right, of October?
Sunday, October 15th, 3
At the Gates of
p.m.
Metal.
Garden Amphitheater for LA's Gates of Metal.
Awesome. Sin, thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
You got it, man.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up today. Major props to Sin. Like I said, that's a guy who has played with so many legendary artists. Like Lords of Acid, I remember hearing them. I don't want to go into a lot of their music because it's a little bit on the adult side, but I remember hearing them as a kid and just being, you know, if you know who Lords of Acid is, you would understand why horny teenage boys would be into that. But also Ministry, like Al Jorgensen is a legend, like an absolute like godfather of industrial music, and American Head Charge, Society One, Revolting Cocks, like the list goes on and on. So thank you again, Sin, for taking a minute to stop by and check out his band SIGLOS. Follow them on Facebook, follow them on YouTube, all that great stuff. And we will see you tomorrow. I believe tomorrow we got Martin from As in Hell, but let me just, don't quote me on that. Let me make absolutely sure, because we booked a lot of people and I got my wires crossed a little bit. So let me just double check this roster before I sign off here. Yeah, tomorrow we have Morten Toft Hantz of As in Hell. He is the drummer of the band As in Hell. And if you don't know much about that band, they have the cat from Volbeat. So anyway, tune in tomorrow. Thank you so much if you tuned in today. We love you out there. And you know the deal. You know the deal. Keep brutal.